I was born with a voice, and the devil tried to take it. He whispered to my heart until I was convinced there's something inherently wrong with greatness. He told me if I reached the hearts of the people, in turn, my heart would be unprotected. But he said nothing of the fact that in my silence is a betrayal of the message. For God says to his people in a book of pages blessed, remind if the reminder should benefit. So I will remind of the truth so long as there are men and women alive to forget it. The devil is tricky. He came with deceits clever and arguments I wouldn't see through too quickly because I tried this poetry thing. It was a side hobby at best for a handful of years, but God placed blessing in my words and delivered poems through me that brought friends and family to tears. The devil couldn't have that because the man who reminds of God is one of the devil's deepest fears. So the devil stoked in me a righteousness just enough so I would hear a pernicious promise in their praises. I could be a great poet, but never a great poet who was sincere. So I pumped the brakes. I put my pen down for what I thought was goodness sake. Lest I accidentally write a poem, go from good to great. Lest I stumble on my ego, spill any good deeds left on my plate. I thought I was being righteous. Because it's true. Greatness draws attention, and to stand in the spotlight is to play with fire. The devil in his graciousness reminds me of this. He fills my head with caution till my thoughts spill over with fear and my mind begins to slip until I forget that God sends truth on the shoulders of the greatest of men. The Almighty sends a prophet with a message. In time, a prophet's people would forget it, so God reminds them again. And we are blessed because our reminder of the truth came on the lips of the last prophet, the greatest one sent, Rasulullah. May Allah send his peace and blessings upon him. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It is a fact that every man is on the deen of his friends. So I'm certain the Sahaba held to a standard greater than what we comprehend. Do I not have an example of greatness in Khadija, the first to believe in this religion God sent, in Abu Bakr as-Siddiq with his devotion to this deen and all the wealth that he spent, in Aisha with her love of the Prophet and preservation of prophetic wisdoms, in Umar ibn Khattab with his fighting for this faith with conviction and strength, in Nusayba nearly giving up her life in the Prophet's defense, and Khalid bin Walid on the front lines leading his men. Do I not have an example of greatness in Malcolm X's battle against bigotry and a hatred he would transcend? In Muhammad Ali, king of the ring, a man who meant what he said and said what he meant. In my parents, who showed me that raising a believing family is perhaps the greatest form of revolution. Despite what the devil has told me, I've learned two things. One, it is incumbent upon me to be a man who is great. Two, it is only God that can keep my heart safe. With that in mind, this here poem is a promise that I will work to become the greatest poet alive. All I ask is that you be moderate in your applause and that you pray for me whilst I try.